Hi, I'm Ms. Cohen. I've been in education for 25 years. Over the past 25 years, I've learned a lot of helpful hints about the SATs. These are the scores of a Hartford public school student who needed some help with his SATs. Came to me about a month and a half or 2 months before his next SAT date. And with the advice I gave him, he was able to nearly double his score. So if you look at his new scores, he was able to bring up his poor scores to actually a pretty good score with just some advice that I gave him. So I'm going to share that advice with you now. Okay. All right. All right, the first piece of advice I have is to skip around and do the easiest problems first. This is really hard for kids to do because kids have been trained to go in order. They've been trained to just go in order, number one, start with number one and go through every problem. However, some kids are better at word problems. Most kids are better at non-word problems. Sometimes kids get slowed down by the word problems. I am going to see if anybody knows. Do you guys know about how much time you're supposed to spend on an SAT problem? Yeah.
Is it 1 minute?
About a minute, maybe a minute and a half. Certainly no longer than 2 minutes. So if a word problem is going to slow you down and take you 5 minutes, that was actually why that student's scores were so low in the first place. He was slowed down by word problems. So what you want to do is skip around and do all of the if you're doing some problems where you're solving for X and you can just zip right through those, that way you're going to get more correct in that same amount of time, and that's going to raise your score. My other advice for that is at the end of some of the math sections, there's a section where you're not given multiple choice answers. You have to fill in your own answers. Those you'd think would be harder. However, those are actually easier than most of the other problems because they're not going to have crazy answers. The answers are usually something easy, 0, 1, 1/2. You're not going to have a crazy complicated answer for those. So those are actually easier than most of the other problems. However, they're at the end of the section. So by the time most students get to those, there either isn't enough time to do them or they're rushed. So if you see one of those sections at the end, you might want to give that a try first before you get to do the other problems, since they're actually a little bit easier. Okay. Then this was the other way that the student nearly doubled his math score. Repetitive practice to increase speed and confidence. He was spending about 5 minutes per problem, and you can't do that. You only need a minute, minute and a half per problem. So I just told him to get a prep book and over the next month or two, do as many problems as he could, as fast as he could, check his answers, make sure they're correct, and time himself. If you're supposed to be doing a certain number of problems within a certain number of time, it is good to just practice SAT problems, but you also want to start timing yourself so you can increase your speed and confidence. Okay. There are also formulas that are given to you on the SATs. However, there are formulas that they do not give to you. There are formulas that you're going to have to memorize and be familiar with before you go into the SATs because they're not given. The ones I recommend, of course, there's a bunch that you should memorize that are not given, but the slope formula is very important. And also, obviously, y equals mx plus b, graphing a line from a slope, from a point, finding a slope, and then graphing a line. You know you're going to have to be able to do that. Also, the distance formula, the midpoint formula, and the circle equation. Okay. And then the last thing that I have is in order to really increase your confidence and to get you comfortable taking the test is taken with wooden pencils, not with mechanical pencils. However, I recently did a couple surveys with students. I did a Twitter survey where 2/3 of students preferred mechanical pencils. However, that's mostly done with older students. Those are more my college student graduates that are using Twitter. When I did an Instagram survey, I found that 3/4 of my students preferred mechanical pencils. I really recommend that students start using wooden pencils and getting comfortable with them, because that's what's used for the test. So my next video is going to be an actual pencil test with students. We're going to find the pencils that are the most comfortable and have the best erasers and the best lead. Okay, thank you.